Hey, all. Welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Doing a little differently today. Real special treat. Robb Ryerse in the basement.
Squirreled out somewhere outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We are squirreled away. Yeah, Rob, now you've not been here when I've done the podcast, I don't think, but when I look up and say, up there, I'm looking out that little basement window right there.
Yeah, that's nice. It's overcast today in Minneapolis.
Yeah, so overcast is going to be 82. All that. Rob and I just returned from being out and about the country. We were in Michigan, Wisconsin, and technically Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota. I think those are the places.
Yeah, I think six states.
Six states, because we drive around in our bus. And today the podcast can happen from here. Rob, any highlights from the trip? Anything that struck you?
Doug, I learned a new word on the trip. And not just a new word, but learned about a whole new creature, the hodag.
The hodag.
Were you familiar with the hodag before the
trip? I had heard about hodags, yes. This is a northern Wisconsin legend animal.
Yeah. So we were in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, meeting with a congressional candidate named Kyle Kilborn, who's really a fantastic guy in Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District, and doing a little interview with him and asked him what Rhinelander was known for, and he said a hodag.
Yeah, that was.
And a what now? A what now? So apparently there's a mythical creature who lives in the woods, kind of scaly, big teeth.
Yeah, well, it's a mythical creature,
thing.
So yeah, the description got very precise.
But they were like all about it in Rhinelander. Like, there's outside of their city hall is a big statue, and you know they are like they're big into the hodag.
Yeah, hodags.
Yeah. That's my highlight.
That was your highlight.
I know. Yeah. And, I mean, just some great candidates. I mean, we talked about Kyle. We also did a little event with Rebecca Cook, who's running in Wisconsin's 3rd Congressional District. And Rebecca is just fantastic. She ran in 2022 and is back now in 2024. And I think that she's got a really great chance at flipping that seat and being the next congresswoman from Wisconsin.
Yeah, fabulous candidate. I felt similarly, and also when we were in Michigan, it was interesting to talk to people running for the what's basically the county government there, the county commission. Mm-hmm. Lots of attention given to the county commission battles going on in West Michigan, and we were with some of those people that are running. It's wonderful. You're starting to feel, for people who care about politics, and we think anybody watching this probably does a little bit, and those of you listening to it might care a little bit. It's really great to see these just ordinary people giving all they've got to do this. It's really, really wonderful.
Yep. And Bonnie.
We did meet Bonnie. If you haven't been on the Facebook page for Vote Common Good, or maybe our Instagram, you should go there and look and see Bonnie. Bonnie stumbled onto us by walking out of her apartment, and we were having a rally right across the street, saw our bus, started joyfully cheering.
Yeah. Often you get people who are kind of loud and boisterous and interrupty.
Yes.
And they are anti what you're doing.
It's a problem.
Yeah. Yes. Bonnie was loud and boisterous and a little bit interrupty. But she was so excited about what we were doing.
Just amazing. And then another guy named Brad happened to see the bus, came up and said, "This is what I've been talking about. I didn't know you all existed." We hear that a lot. People say,
"Hey, why don't you tell people about this?"
Yeah, it's really, it's really funny when people who haven't heard of you say to you, "Why haven't I heard of you?" And I'm not sure how to respond to someone's lack of knowledge. But I think what they're getting at is they wish they knew more. They wish it was more well-known. So do we. So if you know anybody who would like to know about us, tell them, because people are truly joyful when they see a faith, hope, and love supporting democracy for all, standing against insurrections, confronting Christian nationalism. People are like, that's what I'm talking about. Because there was another guy at our event in Wisconsin. I was out by one moment I was out there all alone with the bus. A car pulled up in the parking lot adjacent to where we were meeting. Mm-hmm. And this man starts yelling enthusiastically, "Yeah, my brother!" He's got his hand up, comes running toward the bus, stops and then says, "Oh, you're probably Democrats. I thought you were Jesus people." And we had a conversation about why he thinks that only Republican voting people would be Christians, and why only Christians would only be Republican leaning, which is the whole reason we're out and about.
Exactly.
And we hear it over and over. In fact, 2 weeks ago, a person in a parking lot pulled up, and just as I was getting in the bus, and he said, "Oh, I'm so glad to see your bus. That's so exciting. But when I first saw it, I thought, oh, there those people are again."
Yep.
And then my wife said, "Oh, no, they're the good guys."
That's right.
Now, I don't care for the good guys and bad guys language and all that, right? But I see what he's getting at. Everyone who sees a bus that has politics with Vote Common Good logo and then faith, hope, and love, they immediately conclude that it's going to be people who are Republican leaning, and that's why we exist. That's part of what we're doing out there and what we're up to.
Yeah, as we were cruising down, I think it was Route 80, making our way back to Minneapolis yesterday, we did have just one encounter with someone who, had a gesture for us, just a strong, bold, middle finger coming out the window.
Salute, sure.
Yeah. Coming out the window at us, and it was funny because then we got talking about like what would set somebody up, what content on our bus would, is it voting that you're against?
Yeah.
Is it the common good that you're against? Is it faith, hope, love, democracy for all?
Yeah.
You're against that. You're pro-insurrection. You're pro-Christian nationalism. I'm like, what are we the people is on our bus? Are you
There's
are
a
you
lot
against
of words,
that?
A lot of words on our bus.
We have like a whole novel on the bus. Yeah, it just was. It's so interesting to see that kind of response because it's just it belies and betrays the fact that there are that they're like people have preconceived notions, and their commitment to their team is really, really strong,
really deep, and the deep fear that people have about one another. The thing I've learned in all the times being out and about, people who are voting the way I hope they will, people are voting ways that I wish they wouldn't. They tend to think people who differ from them are people who want to also harm the country.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a big difference. It's not just people saying we differ. I run the iPhone operating system. You run an Android. You run a Linux. It's not like that. It's
Linux. They're libertarians.
Yeah, libertarians. Totally. Hasn't moved at all since the first idea because nobody could agree on the thing you're supposed to do. It's people saying, you're a toxic chemical and I am flowers in the garden.
Yeah. I want to, and I use some of this language. I want to save democracy and you want to destroy the country. And that kind of, and I think there are those who really do want to subvert democracy.
Yes, that's true.
But they're in leadership. They're like, they're not the everyday folks that you encounter at at the Flying J.
I mean, this is the hard thing is I really do think Donald Trump and the people who are behind his ascendancy have a vision for America that is really going to be harmful for America. But I don't think they think that.
Right. Exactly.
I think they are wrong about very important things, as people in politics and culture have been wrong about very important things. And someone voting for that might not have ill will and ill intention. That doesn't mean that it's not going to have negative consequences.
Right.
This is the hard thing about this, right? Is that we recognize, and when I'm not just talking about like, well, if we have a marginal tax rate increase or decrease, that's going to be
that's right.
That's a different that's a different level than you want to create a context in which people feel profoundly unsafe in this country.
Yeah, it is. It's we have moved far beyond the like Steve Forbes debates about flat taxes.
Ben Carson's 10-10-10. Remember that?
10-10-220?
Wasn't he the 10-10-10 guy? I mean, he used to talk a lot about taxes and a lot about Social Security. Then Donald Trump came on the scene and he started talking about villainizing people different from you being afraid of one another,
Yep.
wanting to
an invasion at the border.
How did he put it at that rally? Oh, yeah, I remember. I would like to punch them in the face. A presidential candidate in front of a crowd said about an American in the crowd,
yes,
I would like to punch them in the face.
Right.
And for me, if there were any other reasons why someone is demonstrating themselves to not be suitable for a position of public trust, it is the desire to punch other Americans in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's it.
He is not qualified to be president for so many reasons.
You know, we're going to launch our His Words Matter campaign again this fall, which put pictures of Jesus, quotes from Jesus on one side and quotes from Donald Trump on the other side, just so people kind of, you know, if they're wanting to conflate the godliness of Trump. And I don't think last time we had the turn the other cheek and the I want to punch them in the face. Did we have that?
We
one?
had to turn the other cheek. I can't remember what was on the other side of it.
Well,
we'll have to yell up the stairs to Tim and see if he remembers.
See if he remembers. Well, Tim, if you're watching in the chat,
throw it.
Tim, who is our designer and works with us, is right upstairs.
Hey, listen, Doug. I mean, we are mere days away, less than a month away from the Republican National Convention. The Republican National Convention that will take place in a horrible city. The horrible city.
A lovely city
of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Actually is a lovely city. I remember I had gotten my food memories mixed up. I thought that Milwaukee was known for the Juicy Lucy, but it's actually Minneapolis. Yeah, Minneapolis. I remember now the meal, the thing that I ate in Milwaukee that it was a brat, but it was a brat burger. It was like
really?
Yeah. It's kind of strange. Anyways,
like they took the brat ingredient and turned it into a burger shape and put it on a flat bun rather than a sliced bun.
Yeah.
Wow. Risky.
Yeah, I know. Well, they do wild things in Milwaukee. It's such a horrible city. I had this dream in the weeks leading up to the Republican National Convention. The thing that I really would love to see is I would love to see a revival of The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Remember the Apprentice would, Donald Trump's really amazing game show that he hosted and, use racial slurs during.
Yeah.
I would love to see a revival of The Apprentice, and this time with vice presidential candidates. Mm-hmm. People who are vying for the position of vice president, with Donald Trump sitting there with, Don Jr. on one side of him, and I don't know, Steve Bannon on the other side of him at the boardroom table or something. Well, Steve Bannon can't because he's in jail.
That's right. He probably won't be available. He will be. Is he reported for prison?
I believe. I mean, he's on his way.
I mean,
Alex Jones probably needs to make some money now. Maybe he could join Donald Trump because he's. It's almost as if like legal things go against these guys. So, anyways, I would love to see a series of tasks. By the cadre of vice presidential wannabes. And episode after episode, Donald Trump, firing them
like each night of the convention.
Oh, just eliminate one of them. You could show the recap of like them out, talking to delegates, trying to raise money from, trying to come up with an idea of how to raise campaign money, and they're making buttons, And
well, I never saw The Apprentice.
Oh, really?
I don't. No. I despise the man continuously in my life, so I've never seen it. Is that what they did? People had tasks.
They would do business-related tasks.
Okay.
Where they would have to, come up with a branding campaign, or they would have to, sell hot dogs in Times Square and whatever team, and they were split into teams.
Okay.
They would elect a leader for that task, and then they would come to the boardroom and evaluate how things went. There'd be a winning team and a losing team. Someone from the losing team would be fired.
And did they then have to show how they didn't pay the vendors that they utilized?
Oh, totally.
Did they discriminate in the housing practices? Do they have to do any of the Trump things? Do they have to go bankrupt at a casino? Who can go bankrupt running a money pit of a casino?
Yeah, totally. All that. Yeah.
None of that was in there.
Yeah, I would love to see it though. And we could have, just a series of tasks and get down to where we're finally down to the final two, and then Donald Trump, announces the winner and they walk out on the stage.
Ivanka. You think he's going to go with Ivanka? You think he's going to go with his own daughter? A Trump ticket?
Trump.
He
would like to.
I bet he would. I mean, why not? Why not go with Ivanka?
All right. Okay. So let's.
She's going to be my pick.
I don't know. We want to roll down your list or my list?
Well, yeah, we're gonna make some predictions here on who we think the vice presidential pick is going to be for Donald Trump. That I want to refer to as a co-conspirator in the 2025 Project 2025 plan. Who's the chief conspirator to do the things that Donald Trump has said he wants to do? The kinds of things. Wants to jail his political opponents, wants to be a dictator in function just for a day or two until he solves problems, wants to commit international
He didn't say he wanted to be a dictator. He said he wanted to be a dictator for a day.
Yeah, well, however long. However long.
Oh, he's very sensitive about that. He doesn't like people to say that he said he wanted to be a dictator.
Well, he did say, I want to be a dictator for a day.
Yes, but have you seen him? Like, he gets very sensitive about this.
Sure, but
he says, I did not say I want to be a dictator. I said I want to be a dictator for a day.
For a day, yeah. But how is that not being a dictator?
Who doesn't, though?
When someone says, I want to be a clown, dressed as a clown.
For a day.
For a day.
Yeah, but that's...
Then someone says, you want to be a clown? No. I don't want to be a clown.
Right. Yeah, this is like the difference.
I want to be a clown for a day.
Just experimenting with it, just trying it out, as opposed to a full identity change. And it would be, I think Yavitz is right, it would be the longest day of having Donald Trump.
Then he should do it on June 21st.
Before we jump into this, I think we need to pull back and say the traditional consideration when it comes to picking a vice president is often trying to shore up your weaknesses.
Yep.
Whether that's geographically trying to, win a state, or with a particular demographic group or an ideological group, trying to unite the party. You think of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, or you think of the very interesting thing that Bill Clinton did with doubling down on a brand with like young Southern men when he picked Al Gore, which was an unusual choice.
But that was also to spread Al Gore, it's hard to remember, was a part of the very moderate, almost conservative-leaning side.
Oh, yeah.
His wife, being a Christian person in public persona, was the one who wanted to be sure that parents could see age requirements on music.
Right.
So that he was shoring up. He was doubling down, but also shoring up, because people saw Bill Clinton as a liberal fella.
Yeah.
Even though, in truth, politically and so on, he wasn't. I think.
Yeah. So
maybe a bit libertine in his personal pleasures.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
So we've got these, you have these traditional considerations. And Donald Trump did this in 2016 when he chose Mike Pence, because he needed to shore up.
Yes, very much.
The evangelicals, and really solidify evangelicals. And he did that with Mike Pence. What does Donald Trump need to do this time? What's the basis for him making his choice for vice president?
He has to. So I think there's two things going into Trump's choice. One is, what he's going to want to do is have someone who's as nasty and mean as he is, because the meanness is the value. So I think what he's going to want to do is to be sure the brand is well represented. And he's going to want there to be a contrast to a Mike Pence, who took this nice guy and wasn't, quote, tough enough,
and wasn't willing to do the thing,
wasn't willing to violate his constitutional duty. So he's going to need somebody who's a fighter. And secondly, and I think this is the most important thing to Trump. I know you have your other idea of the first or second most important thing. The person needs to, in Trump's mind, look vice presidential. He is so into this image look thing. The person needs to carry a stature that he thinks looks vice presidential.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that leads me to who I think you think he's going to choose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's I make a little. I feel like I want to write it down on a piece of paper and see if I'm right. I'm going to make a prediction right now. I'm going to put on a piece of paper. Prediction of what I think of who I think Doug is going to say Donald Trump is going to pick.
Okay.
And
I know yours already. So
yeah, mine.
That's
already.
a fair bet.
Yeah,
that's a fair bet.
All right, it's on this paper.
Well,
okay, yeah. So I think I think that idea of looking vice presidential is accurate, and I also think the idea of him wanting to pick someone who's tough enough to do the job is really important. I think that loyalty is really, really important to him, and I think this goes along with the Mike Pence thing. I think when he looks at his first administration, he sees he chose people to serve with him in his cabinet and across the board based on recommendations from Republican insiders, people who are competent, and they all ended up stabbing him in the back.
Yes, all the competent people.
And so,
ended up turning on him.
I mean, from chief of staff, chief of staff, secretary of state, defense secretary. I mean, UN secretary, or UN ambassador, all of it.
Education secretary, transportation secretary.
Yeah, I mean, the only one who's still with him is HUD, Housing and Urban Development.
Yeah, apparently.
I think I saw something that was like 40 of his 44 cabinet members have said they won't vote for him.
Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shocking number.
Wow.
So I think when Donald Trump looks at this second term, he doesn't care about what he needs to do to govern. I think what he wants is absolute loyalty to him.
Yes.
And he will pick. He sees his choices from his first administration of people being disloyal and how that tanked him, and it undermined him. It made him look stupid and all of the stuff that frustrates him. So I think loyalty becomes the number one thing for him.
I'll say what else I don't think he's going to think about, which a lot of presidents think about, presidential candidates. They think, if, God forbid, something were to happen to me, this person would have to take over.
Right.
Donald Trump will not care for 1 minute about what happens to this country if something were to happen to him.
This is true.
The idea that the person needs to be competent and able to step in day one, not a choice. I cannot imagine him saying or caring if voters think that, because he believes himself to be the sole person who can save America.
Yes.
So he doesn't. There is no next person.
It's
that
not
would step in.
Yes, it's not a movement.
No,
it is a cult of personality. So let's start with this. The Constitution has a rule. Has the 12th Amendment? Doug says that the president and the vice president cannot be from the same state.
Yeah.
And yet on our lists are Marco Rubio, senator from Florida.
Yeah.
And Byron Donaldson, congressman from Florida.
I don't know how they get around this. Do you?
So when George W. Bush picked Dick Cheney, when Dick Cheney picked Dick Cheney, because if you remember, Dick Cheney was in charge of George W. Bush's search committee. Yeah. Couldn't find somebody better.
No.
He was like, nah, I'm looking around. It's got to be me.
Yeah, it's got to be one of the three of us, me, myself, or I.
Yeah, and so he moved. Dick Cheney changed his residency from Texas to Wyoming. That's easy to do because Dick Cheney was a private citizen at the time.
Yes.
We're not,
had his home in Wyoming. Had been a
lifelong
congressman from Wyoming.
Yes, I mean it was totally like okay, he's just living in Texas right now. Yeah. We're talking about a senator and a congressman from the state.
Yeah.
To move to another state is just
Yeah, you'd have to resign your seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, for all practical purposes, you would be resigning your seat. Yeah, I don't think it's either of them.
I don't think it is either.
And
now, Alex said in the chat that she thinks it's going to be Marco Rubio. I think, Marco Rubio doesn't pass the loyalty test.
No.
Little Marco
Definitely not.
said mean things about Donald Trump back in the day.
What Trump is not going to want is when the vice presidential candidate is selected to have hours of commentary and video rolling
from that
person saying things about Donald Trump.
Yes.
Not a chance.
Well, if they're negative.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, not a chance that they're gonna do that. Now, this list you're referring to is this very common list that's out and about. I'm looking at Forbes. I don't know where you got yours. I saw it also on Politico. It's like the top 8 people.
Yeah.
I'll just go on the record here of saying it's not going to be any of these 8 people in my view.
Okay. Hit us with the 8. Ooh,
I don't think they're even reasonable choices. One is the newly elected senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance.
You don't think it's J.D.?
No, I do not think it's J.D.
When
Vance.
I think, when you were saying,
oh, is that who you wrote on the sheet of paper there? J.D. Vance.
When you said mean and looks vice presidential.
Yeah. You wrote JD.
I wrote JD.
You wrote JD. Yeah.
I wrote JD.
I definitely. I don't think JD Vance.
He's not ready for prime time.
I don't. Here's what it gets to. Alex stepped into this a bit in the chat. Donald Trump doesn't want to pick someone who can outshine him.
Oh, interesting.
JD Vance is the kind of person that people would get excited about. Now, I don't get excited about JD Vance.
Yeah.
But there's
I hear you.
If JD Vance were announced,
there'd be people pining for like, ooh.
Why can't he?
Why can't he? Why?
Donald Trump is going to pick someone who's
That's interesting.
JD Vance. If there's one thing JD Vance has cared about, it's JD Vance.
On brand.
On brand, right? JD Vance, in his business career, in his writing career, in his political career, he has been about JD Vance. JD Vance is not going to, he might be loyal and mean, but he's not going to step back.
He hasn't always, I don't think it's JD Vance because he hasn't always been loyal.
No, he
was a critic of Donald Trump.
He was a critic.
And so I think that's why I don't think he will be chosen. I thought he was going to be your choice.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The other one on this list is Senator Marco Rubio from Florida.
Nope.
I think for the reasons we've mentioned. The next on this list, and this is ridiculous, Doug Burgum, who you don't even know who that is because he's the former governor from North Dakota.
From a Dakota. Now, here's the case for Doug Burgum.
Okay.
He's rich.
Yes.
And as a vice presidential candidate could pump a lot of money into the campaign.
Yes, that's right.
This is why Robert Kennedy Jr. chose his vice presidential candidate, who now I cannot remember her name.
Remember who that is.
It was purely because she's rich.
Yeah.
And she could fund the campaign.
And she wanted to.
And she, I wonder if Doug Burgum fits that category.
Well, Doug Burgum, according to Forbes here, is worth $100 million.
Oh, well, that's not rich enough. That's not rich enough.
That's you know what that is. That's rich, not wealthy. You want to be wealthy. Trump is rich, not wealthy. The wealthy people, like their wealth is constantly driving and has been around. And these guys are just rich. But no, I agree. If of the list of someone that Trump could pick, it could be Doug Burgum. I do think that's a possibility. But I don't think it's going to be Doug Burgum. I don't think there's a good reason for it not to be Doug Burgum. Other than
no one knows who he is.
Nobody knows who he gains Trump nothing.
We follow politics, and I don't know the guy is.
Next on the list, against number 4, is Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina.
Tim Scott seems to be the leader in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah. I could see it being Tim Scott if Donald Trump needs to shore up the evangelicals, because Tim Scott in the evangelical world carries a lot of sway. People might not know that. They don't know anything about Tim Scott. And some people are shocked by that because they believe that the evangelicals are only white evangelicals. But Tim Scott plays a role that could be quite powerful. He's not going to pick him, partially because I don't think he likes how he sounds. I don't think Donald Trump likes his actual...
His affect,
the way his mouth and voice says words. I think he doesn't like him. He kind of makes comments about it.
Where else can you get this kind of deep political breakdown? I don't think Donald Trump likes the way his mouth says words.
I really do. I think this is a big part of the thing. And secondly, I don't think they're going to pick a black person to be the vice presidential candidate.
Yeah.
I know there are people who believe that Donald Trump's going to try to shore up the black vote. He's going to try to move some people. And I get that argument. He could do that.
Yeah.
There are enough people who support Donald Trump who would not feel that he has maintained the messaging he has been putting out if he were to pick a black person to be on his ticket.
Yeah.
I think the racism within the support of Donald Trump, it's not everyone, it's not even the majority, it's not even a significant amount, but he can't afford to lose 1 or 2%.
No, he can't.
And he's not going to pick up those same numbers of people who are like, oh, I think I'm going to go with the guy.
Oh, how progressive and open-minded of him to choose Tim Scott.
So I don't think it's going to be
I have a friend,
Senator Tim Scott.
I have a good friend who has a good friend who was a contestant on The Apprentice and was a black man and got down to the very end and was in the final 2.
Okay.
And that season of The Apprentice, Donald Trump suggested that they have co-winners.
Wow.
Because
he
couldn't
go all the way.
Yeah. And ever since hearing that story from my friend about his friend, and I recently asked him, I was like, is your friend the one that he said the tape, the N-word about? And he said, no, that wasn't him. I was so hoping it was, because that would been
then you got a guy.
Oh, I got a guy. But I think that reinforces this idea that I think the racism is so deep with him that well, and within the party, within the support of MAGA, a percentage of MAGA people that unite the right crowd. That Trump was very careful to say there are good people on both sides. And I know you can say, well, in South Carolina, where Tim Scott is the multiple time elected senator, the people there are for him. Yes, I get that and understand it. But there's some people in South Carolina who would love to vote for someone who thinks like Tim Scott does, but won't do it. Yeah. And so you think that eliminates Ben Carson?
I think it also eliminates Ben Carson. And Ben Carson brings him maybe the evangelicals, but barely, and is also not presidential material. I am shocked that this is the list that people are going for.
Who else you got?
Okay, then they say Elise Stefanik, the representative from New York.
Yeah.
I could see Elise Stefanik possibly.
She used to be a Trump critic.
Yep. But she has moved really hard.
He doesn't care. She's not.
Okay. I think a good
that being said, if I'm wrong on the loyalty thing, Elise Stefanik definitely.
Yeah.
But politically, she brings him nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
She's from New York. She's unknown generally.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yeah. I do think. Oh, okay. I'll get to this in a minute. And then Byron Donalds, representative from Florida.
Yeah, he's from Florida, and he's a black man.
He's from Florida. He's a black man. I don't think there's a chance. All right, Senator Tom Cotton from the great state of Arkansas.
Senator Tom Cotton, whose parents live in Arkansas.
That's true. There was a whole thing about that, wasn't there?
Tom Cotton's a definite possibility.
Yeah.
Definite possibility.
Yep. Tom Cotton is a definite possibility. I think he might have evangelical cred, right? Is he an evangelical cred guy? Or just a conservative kind of libertarian leaning?
Yeah.
Does he have any religious?
He probably does. I don't know if he's particularly. We didn't even put Ramaswamy on the list. Is Ramaswamy on your list?
Ramaswamy
he's
is not
on my
this
list either.
No.
I totally even forgot about him.
No, but Vivek Ramaswamy is not going to be a presidential candidate picked by Donald Trump.
We're responding to Yabitz's comment that Trump can't pronounce Ramaswamy, which is
yes, it's
just totally true. It's down there at the bottom.
It's likely true.
Yeah. So Tom Cotton, definite possibility.
All right,
but you don't think it's Tom Cotton?
For the reason that I'm going to tell you what my prediction is will be that it's not Tom Cotton.
Okay. Nikki Haley.
Okay, you got Nikki Haley.
I'm not. Yeah. That's not my prediction or anything. I'm just throwing out ideas.
On the list.
Again, I don't think so. She's been too critical.
I mean, look, if they could convince Nikki Haley to stand with Donald Trump as the vice presidential co-conspirator, she'd be a great pick. Again, I think the people in the party are going to have a hard time voting for a woman for vice president. Just enough. Now, could he pick up enough people who think, oh, he picked a woman vice president, so that's put me back on the Trump trade? Maybe. That could be a trade.
Yeah.
If Nikki Haley were to do so, it would infuriate
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Like if he thought, if people thought that the Nikki Haley voters were going to come with her, my experience with the ones that I've talked to, they are not coming with her.
Yes,
they will be furious at her.
Yep.
Because she was saying things they agreed with. They were not agreeing with the idea because she said it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
She wasn't leading them to the conclusion. She was filling the role of someone who they wanted to say it.
Yep.
The same way that someone like who's the guy who used to be the governor of New Jersey and used to be on TV and all the time. What was that guy's name that I've forgotten?
Chris Christie?
Oh, yeah, Chris Christie.
Yeah,
Chris Christie. Totally forgotten about that guy.
Yeah.
She plays that role, right?
Yeah.
That she was like the fighter out there saying the things. And she just stayed in long enough.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's Carrie Lake. Because Carrie Lake's got all this trouble of her own brewing, and they're not going to pull her out of Arizona.
Kristi Noem, governor of Dakota,
already been removed from the list for wanting to kill dogs.
Not wanting to kill dogs, actually killing dogs. Because apparently you can do in a Dakota.
Well, yeah, I think you can do anywhere, can't you?
I imagine so.
I can't imagine there's laws against killing dogs.
Donald Trump's vice presidential pick is going to be Sarah Huckabee Sanders, governor of Arkansas.
Okay.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders has an unblemished track record of loyalty to Donald Trump. Sarah Huckabee Sanders shores up any reticence from the evangelical crowd. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has extended media support through her dad's television show. Sarah Huckabee Sanders knows how Trump works, knows what worked and didn't work in the first administration as a very, very close insider, and could immediately hit the ground in helping him be a dictator for a day.
Yes. And she'd be happy with that. She would have no problem.
None.
With Trump being a dictator for a day.
She is also a true believer in the Project 2025, culture war, all of that stuff.
Yep.
She's a woman.
Yep. Which I think would be the limitation here.
Yeah.
But
Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going to be Donald Trump's vice presidential pick.
Yeah, I'm totally willing to be convinced, and will be first to congratulate you on that. the issue of a woman, I think, is a problem for this party, for the MAGA party.
Yeah.
I think they could get over that with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The thing I think that will keep Trump from getting over it is, does she look presidential? Is he happy with her affect? This guy, he picked Rick, the guy who was the Secretary of State from Exxon.
Oh yeah.
The guy who said he's a fucking idiot. That guy.
Yeah.
He picked him because he looked the part. Trump says it all the time. And I think the thing that's he may be convinced to go with her, but what's going to eat at him is, does she look vice presidential? And some of that for Trump is being a woman.
Yeah.
But some of it is her affect.
Yeah.
Does she look the part? I think she does. She totally looks the part. But not. I don't think. Fred's son thinks so.
Probably a lot of folks don't pay daily attention to Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yes, that's probably true, including her children.
Living in the state of Arkansas, I can tell you this.
How does she come across?
Well, she's terrible at governing. Like she's really bad at the job.
Okay,
shockingly bad at the job.
Okay,
not just. This isn't a critique of the policy. This is just competence.
Yep.
She fits the incompetent thing that that's part of the Trump brand. In terms of, I don't know how to say this. She appears to be undergoing a bit of a physical transformation.
Oh, okay. Starting to look more presidential, vice presidential.
It seems like she's attempting to.
Okay. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with her. I don't think there's anything wrong with the way she looks at all. I think Trump thinks there is.
Yeah.
He used to say stuff about that when she was the press secretary.
Yeah.
He's a terrible person on this stuff.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah. If he were to pick, that is the only hesitation I have in suggesting her, is that he doesn't think she's attractive enough.
Yes.
And he would want someone he thinks is
McEnany or whatever her name was, the one that took over for her. Remember the press secretary that took over after her?
Yeah.
McElhaney, McEnany.
I mean, this is why
he wants that kind of look for a person.
Yeah, but I mean, Kristi Noem getting new teeth, and all it's. Oh my goodness, why?
Yes,
this man.
Yeah.
But that being said, loyalty is the most important thing to Donald Trump.
Yep.
And everyone on this list.
Yep.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders is the most loyal public figure to Donald Trump in the country, bar none.
Yeah. I think
short of his children.
Yeah.
She is the most loyal.
All right. So I have a short list of people that I think it could be.
Yeah.
Those we mentioned, okay, perhaps. I think Mike Pompeo comes out of the weeds. He's been gone.
Wow.
He's stayed quiet. He's big with the evangelicals. He's changed his physical appearance quite a bit.
Tell folks who Mike Pompeo is.
Mike Pompeo used to be the Secretary of State and was a congressman and is a true believer. And I think pulling Mike Pompeo back out. So I think it could be a Mike Pompeo.
Oh, I'm so hoping you go with Mark Meadows as the second choice.
I hadn't thought about that, but Mark Meadows would be. He also has the luck.
Yep.
I was only partially joking at the start that Trump picks a family member. The top of my list, though, is going to be some unknown person to the political system who's a political outsider that he brings in from entertainment or from business. And he doubles down on the non-insider brand, that the thing all these other people represent is they're part of the swamp. And what he will do is pick someone who no one can attack, who has no policy positions, someone that he brings up like he did Tillerson to make him Secretary of State, or Secretary of State. He pulls somebody out of nowhere, maybe out of media, and that person stands with him as his vice president, and he goes hard into entertainment genre. Maybe it's somebody off of Fox News, because he doesn't need the person to give policy.
Tucker Carlson.
Could be a Tucker Carlson. This is where I think Trump is going. And all the rest of this is going to be trying to convince the system that he's going to play by the typical rules of who he's going to pick. And I think he's going to go outside the system altogether. I actually think it's going to be a family member, because I think to his mind, a Trump ticket is the greatest thing he could imagine. Now, Don Jr. lives in Florida, I think, but he could move.
Oh, he could move easily.
Ivanka might still live in New York. I don't know where her actual residency is.
Ivanka and Jared have been very, very quiet since they got the $2 billion from the Saudis.
Yes. Since they started, became part of the Saudi family as well as the Trump family.
Barron's not old enough.
Yes, that's true. Barron's not old enough.
And he's too tall.
He could pick Ivanka, or he could pick Melania. He could pick his wife. And we go full on House of Cards here.
Jared?
No. Oh, you're saying could he pick Jared?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he could pick Jared.
I mean, yeah.
But a Trump Kushner ticket is, I just think the only reason Trump would, the two things he could double down on.
Trump.
Is the name brand Trump and the outsider to politics. Everyone else.
So which of his children does he pick?
Well, I mean,
is it Eric, who seems a bit more competent?
Yeah.
Don Jr., who loves the political circuit
and would love to just stand back there and Trump thinks he looks great. I mean, he loves his own image more than anything.
Yeah. Ivanka seems the most competent, but she also has pulled away.
Yeah.
Tiffany,
can you imagine? I think Tiffany, well, I don't know if she changed her name, but she did recently get married, I've heard.
I want to. I'm going to start the draft Tiffany campaign. I think Tiffany Trump should be vice president.
Well, I don't know. What do you think about this? So I have two theories here. One is somebody outside the system altogether, and the other is a family member.
I think the family member thing is so bizarre. That it would end him.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
You don't think people would just be like, this is the family I love more than any family I could love?
I think the 30% of folks that are already totally in would love it, and it would be another one of those inflection points where he would lose 5 to 7% of his support.
Okay.
Because people would just be like, oh, come on.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would love that. It would.
Yeah, I take your point. Yeah.
I think it would be so bizarre.
My guess is there's no chance that has not been a conversation amongst the
totally.
amongst the
crowd. I think the outsider thing is interesting.
Yeah.
I think Tucker Carlson's a real possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Though he's not the blank slate that you kind of were describing.
The problem with Tucker is people then will be talking about Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
He needs to pick somebody who folks are going to get excited. Someone is going to get sort of, oh, wow, look at that. But they're not going to take away. There's no ideas that person has that are better than Trump's ideas.
Yep.
He will not tolerate that again. He's not going to tolerate a brand delusion, dissolving.
I think the idea of it being someone like a Rex Tillerson who's kind of
you knew it all along, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You said Tillerson earlier, and then I remembered.
Get to it.
I think someone like that who would be a blank slate that people could project on. They go, oh, there's competency here. Oh,
or a general or something like this.
I think that's a real interesting idea.
I think he's going outside politics because he'll look around and think everybody else has looked down on me. Everybody else has built their career there. I need people who've built their career the way I have. That's what I want. That's where J.D. Vance becomes somewhat interesting because he'll only have been polluted for less than a year.
So critical of Trump, though, before he got in.
Yeah.
So critical.
But then he moved hardcore.
Yeah, but there's audio and video of him saying things about Trump.
Yeah. Trump's not going to like it. So he goes for somebody else. He goes for a non-politician. Anyway, that's my pick. I mean, that's easy, right? Well, not really. I mean, I've gone a category.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I can't name the person, but I think that's the way it's going.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting.
Well, I think that wraps it up for today then. Trump. What else do we have in the comments here? Anything? Usually we get some good morning VCG.
Rodney Govins for Congress.
Hey, Rodney.
Love it.
I'm hoping that's Rodney.
Yeah. Mike Flynn.
Oh, did somebody suggest Mike Flynn?
Yeah. Antonia
suggested Mike Flynn. Okay, yeah, Mike Flynn's an interesting character. If he wants
just double down on the criminal brand,
double down on the insurrection.
I want to.
Yes.
I'll vote for the felon.
Yeah. Can Mike Flynn? He can be elected.
Sure.
I was just double checking.
Youngkin from Virginia, who I thought was going to actually be the Republican nominee for president.
Yeah. Trump had a meeting with him apparently a week ago or something like this. Youngkin has not been a true Trump supporter.
Right.
And Youngkin is the moderate type, which I get the argument could get you. Again, my bias is he doesn't want anybody that's bringing a bunch of policy, a bunch of... Trump doesn't want to have to answer for any of this stuff. I don't think he wants to answer for any.
And I don't think it's going to be Kemp because he blames, like all that stuff from Georgia.
Yes.
It's just.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Rodney went with your Tucker Carlson. He gave a little more thing. All right. Alex agrees with you that picking a family member would end him. Now isn't Rubio looking better from his short list? Yeah, okay.
Yabitz has a debate prediction.
Okay.
That Trump shows up and storms off the stage.
Oh yeah.
Now you don't think he's going to show?
I thought he wasn't going to show at all. I thought he would storm off the stage before it happened. Say I can't get a fair shake. The media is doing this bad thing. There's no way we're going to do that. I'll debate Joe Biden on a stage in front of you, the fans, because they want to do this apparently with no audience.
No audience.
They want to be able to cut off microphones, and all the rest of it. And I think Trump is just gonna say, "Hey, I'm a negotiator, and you didn't take my."
He's gonna walk.
I think he's going to walk. But I'm interested in Yabitz's idea that he's going to storm off the stage.
Yeah, love it.
Also like Yabitz's comment that he did donate
to Rodney's campaign. Everybody needs to do that. Get over there to
felt great.
Rodney for Congress. Rodney Govins for Congress. I really should know what his website is. Google Rodney Govins for Congress and get over there and smash that donate button.
And even better yet, Rodney, put it in the chat here, and we'll pop it up on the screen and read it out loud for the people. Okay. Now here's the other question: does he pick and announce his vice presidential candidate before the convention, or does he go George H. and announce it at the convention, which is what George H.W. Bush did with Dan Quayle? Announced it at the convention. Do you think he's going to release it early, or is he going to try to drive up viewership?
He is going to be sentenced 4 days before the convention. His sentencing date is July 11th, and the convention starts on July 15th. I think he announces his vice presidential pick on July 12th.
Okay.
Change the news story.
Okay. I think he's going to do something to stall out the sentencing day. Some motion, something.
Everybody smash this URL right here.
RodneyForCongress.org.
Yeah, do it. Hit it, and then hit that donate button.
Yeah, that's for Rodney, because we need him in Congress. Rodney's last name is Govins. He's not running for governor. He's running for Congress. Don't get confused.
Rodney Govins is going to govern.
Is going to govern, not as a governor, but as a congressperson. So Rodney, people are going to go to rodneyforcongress.org, which I cannot believe again that was available. Just first name forcongress.org. Incredible.
We should.
I think Trump is going to find some way to stall out the sentencing hearing so it doesn't interfere with the convention. I don't know if he can do it, but I think his legal team is going to be working on some kind of an appeal, or Trump can't show up or something, so that the news story is not Trump was just sentenced to this number of work hours or something else.
House arrest.
Yeah. I don't think the judge is going to put him under house arrest, because that would really look like political
interference, election interference.
Yeah.
Witch hunt.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who are sentenced to crimes for which their living, working situation comes into play, and they would just have to take this into consideration. But anyway, I think he's going to announce it Thursday night at the convention. I think he's going to find a way to do big fanfare to try to drive up news or media coverage of the convention.
Yeah. And I think he'll use it to try to change the news cycle.
Yeah.
Talking about his sentencing.
Yeah.
So he'll announce it on my sister's birthday.
I could wonder if he knows that. I think he's going to trust that the convention starting on the subsequent days will get there. Okay. Yep.
And we have to caveat all of this with, Doug, you and I have been wrong about every Donald Trump prediction we've ever made.
Yeah, every single one. I wouldn't listen to me about anything. The one thing I'm pretty sure of is it's not going to be somebody outside the political system, because there's no chance I'm right now. Many predictions have been wrong. But I do feel pretty good about this one. I think that's how it's going to go. I think he'll wait. This is my guess. He waits. It's somebody outside of politics. He announces it Thursday night at the convention. That's my total package pick.
My package pick is it's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, announced on July 12th.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. We're getting specific here. Could he be sentenced to jail time but allowed to serve it after the election? Absolutely. That kind of stuff happens all the time.
Yeah.
You don't you don't necessarily immediately walk into jail. People are given a chance to, especially this kind of crime, like with this white collar, forging documents kind of thing.
You mean felony convictions for?
Yeah. I mean, same type of crime that Hunter Biden was convicted of. Just lying on a form.
Yeah. Well, no.
Yeah.
So it's not. Hunter Biden did not commit a conspiracy intended to defraud. No conspiracy. That's what Trump was convicted of, was conspiracy to
They both
defraud.
lied on forms, though.
They used the same tactic, but they didn't commit the same crimes.
Yeah, but and frankly, if he was sentenced to jail time but allowed to serve it after the election, I would be totally fine with that. That is reasonable.
Even if it means house arrest.
Yeah.
In
from
Washington D.C.
during the transition. If he wins election and you are under house arrest until the inauguration.
Here's the problem with the conviction is if the sentence doesn't seem significant, it will diminish the impact of the conviction.
Interesting.
Like, okay, it's a conviction, but geez.
Yeah, it's like,
it's a guy like Trump. He can pay $50,000 or $150,000 in fines or whatever.
Can't, though.
Yeah, but people believe that he can. And if it's just something where he has to do community service and acting in this public,
I think community service, depending on what it is, could be humiliating enough that could actually hurt him.
Unless it's the campaign is included in it, because
it's true. Yeah, I don't know. We're wrong about Donald Trump so often, and we got to kind of head to the airport pretty soon.
Even more so, what people shouldn't have to do is think about what the criminal sentence on 34 felony charges means for the presidential candidate.
This is
shouldn't have to think about that.
Yep.
But yet we do. All right, everybody, from the basement, two of us together, first time ever.
It's not our first time being together. We were together on Inauguration Day.
Yeah, but from the basement.
Yeah, that was from a hotel in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Remember when we saw Trump's helicopter leave D.C.?
I do remember that.
It was a glorious
That's
moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't want to see his limousine drive back in.
Oh,
that would just...
Not at all.
All right, bye, everybody.